On this episode of Cape Media News, the man charged with killing Yarmouth Sergeant Sean Gannon is arraigned in Barnstable Superior Court.
We continue our review of 2018 with a trip to Barnstable Municipal Airport.
And we look back at an interview with shark expert Dr. Greg Skomel. These stories and more. This is Cape Media News. This is Cape Media News, your local authentic newscast. I'm Sarah Colvin.
And I'm Gabrielle Rawson.
We start today's broadcast with news about the man charged with killing Yarmouth Police Sergeant Sean Gannon.
Thomas Latanowicz was arraigned in Barnstable Superior Court this morning. We take you to the courtroom now.
We are outside Barnstable Superior Courthouse where this morning Thomas Latanowicz was arraigned on 8 charges in connection with the killing of Yarmouth Police Sergeant Sean Gannon. Thomas Latanowicz was led into court in shackles this morning to be arraigned on a slew of charges in connection with the death of Yarmouth Police Sergeant Sean Gannon. Sergeant Gannon was shot and killed on April 12, 2018, as he and his fellow officers attempted to serve a warrant on Latanowicz. Sergeant Gannon's canine Nero was also shot and seriously wounded. In front of a room filled with uniformed officers from one end of the Cape to the other, Latanowicz pled not guilty to all 8 charges, including murder in the first degree. He'll be held without bail, returning to court in November for a pretrial hearing. For Cape Media News, I'm Sarah Colvin. And as we await word on a trial, we'll take you back to the days following the tragic death of Sergeant Gannon. On April 12th of this year, our community was shattered by the loss of one of our own, a brave man, a young man, a Yarmouth police officer, a dedicated community servant, a husband, a brother, a son, a friend. 32-year-old Sean Gannon was shot and killed in the line of duty while serving a warrant at a home in Marston's Mills. He was killed by a man with 125 prior arraignments on his record. The community reached out in so many ways following Gannon's death. Police officers and first responders lit the roadways with blue following Gannon's body to the state medical examiner's office, staying with him 24/7 until he was laid to rest with honor, surrounded by love, on Wednesday of the following week. Thousands of police officers from across the country came to Cape Cod to help escort Sean from the funeral home in Hyannis to St. Pius Church in Yarmouth. Scores of community members paid their respects at the wake, and hundreds more attended the funeral. A line of uniformed officers that stretched nearly a quarter mile marched down Station Avenue to honor our fallen officer, our Sean. He was laid to rest in Chandler Gray Cemetery in Yarmouth. In the days since the shooting, the community rallied around the Gannon family and continues to do so to show support and love following this tragic loss. Up next, we go back to the beginning of the summer season to watch JetBlue touch down on the tarmac.
They gave me Vicodin after my knee surgery. They kept prescribing it, so I kept taking it. I didn't know it would be this addictive. I didn't know how far I'd go to get more.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth.
Hundreds of thousands of visitors flock to Cape Cod in the summer months.
Many travelers drive and have to deal with miles of traffic heading over the Cape Cod Canal.
But for the past 5 years, travelers between New York City and Cape Cod have had a new, faster option, JetBlue.
And we were at Barnstable Municipal Airport when the first plane of the season touched down on the tarmac. Let's take a look.
93 people arrived on Cape Cod today, didn't have to sit in a second of traffic. JetBlue is back for another season, flying in and out here at Barnstable Municipal Airport. You guys just got off the JetBlue flight. How was your flight to Cape Cod?
It was terrific. Smooth landing, up and down within 40 minutes. Yeah, it was great.
Easy. So it was super convenient. I'm actually going to Nantucket for the weekend, so we're connecting here for a few hours. So we're going to hang out and go get breakfast across the street. But it was definitely the easiest way for us to get to the island, and it was also the most affordable option. So
that's fantastic.
All around.
So have you been to Nantucket, Cape Cod before?
I have, and it's beautiful, and this makes it, I think, a lot more accessible, so we don't have to take the ferry or drive 8 hours.
Last year when we started the season about this time, we didn't have this many coming in, so this is very gratifying to see the numbers, because we think there's a market here, and we want to serve that market for a longer season, and we've been trying to convince JetBlue to do that. We're just happy that they're here, but we'd really like to see them come in more frequently and for a longer period of time. We've proven that we can get these planes in and out, we can prove that we can handle the passengers, and we'd like to see that market continue and grow, and we're continuing to try to market the airport to other air carriers as well.
So we've got some Cape Codders with us today. What made you decide to take the JetBlue here to Cape Cod?
We wanted to not cross the bridge in our car.
Easy enough.
And we wanted to get out of New York fast.
Well, last year at least, and the year before, I guess, when they started it, there was only one flight a day. It'd be great if there were 2 flights a day. But it is what it is. It's really good.
Great. And so how was your flight this morning?
Unbelievable.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Friendly pilot. He was in a great mood. It was the beginning of summer. Everyone was ready to go.
And while JetBlue's seasonal service ends this Labor Day weekend, a new winter service is about to begin.
This week, Cape Air announced that it will launch seasonal service between Barnstable Municipal Airport and New York's JFK Airport, with a stop on Nantucket.
The daily round-trip service will be aboard Cape Air's Cessna 402, a 9-passenger twin-engine aircraft. That service set to begin on October 23rd and run through mid-May 2019.
Local environmental advocates are taking a look at plastic in our environment.
Plastic waste ends up in our oceans and is a threat to wildlife and ocean ecology.
We talked to some Cape Codders working to reduce plastic use.
18 billion pounds of plastic end up in the ocean each year. We met with conservation experts to learn more.
Well, hello, I'm Richard Delaney. I'm the president of the Center for Coastal Studies, and the center is an independent, nonprofit research, education, and public policy organization. Our mission is to contribute our knowledge about the oceans and the data we collect to decision makers, to enable decision makers to make better decisions about sustaining and protecting and conserving oceans and coasts. People have to understand that plastic is a relatively new item in our world. It only came into existence commercially in the 60s. So we lived as a society, and other countries lived without plastic for generations, for eons. And all of a sudden we created this material that was going to make everyone's life easier. Problem is, it doesn't biodegrade. It never goes away. And it has proliferated just out of control all over the world. So the problem with plastic in the marine environment is it's there forever. It doesn't degrade. And we have had now increasing evidence that it's actually making its way into the food chain, not only impacting fish and whales and sea turtles, but eventually, and not eventually, already potentially making its way onto our dinner plates because we eat a lot of those same animals. The Cape, like almost every other part of the world, has its share of plastic pollution. Every few minutes, we as a society are using millions of plastic bottles one time only. Use it, put away someplace. Most of that doesn't get recycled. It ends up in landfills. Unfortunately, a significant percentage of bottles and straws and all of our plastic debris eventually make its way into the ocean, and that's the problem that we're trying to deal with here at the Center for Coastal Studies.
Jill Talladay, founder of CARE, Creating a Responsible Environment, has started working with small business owner Catherine Bieri to reduce plastic consumption in her cafe.
This year we decided that we wanted to do something to really raise awareness more so. So we are working with the local restaurant businesses to educate them and ask them to stop serving plastic straws.
We've always been wanting to look for an alternative when we opened up this store. So what we have done, we do take our straws and we put them behind the counter. We also have a poster over where the straws used to be, you know, explaining to people that we are part of the Skip the Straw campaign and, you know, giving them the statistics about the harmfulness to the wildlife and why we're participating. And for the most part, it's been a very positive impact to our customers. We've had a number of people who have said, oh, you know, where are the straws? Can I get one? And I tell them, oh, you know, we hide them behind the counter. And then I explain to them why we're part of the Skip the Straw. And quite a number of them will say, you know what, forget it, thank you, I don't need the straw.
We actually rolled out the Skip the Straw program on Earth Day, so it hasn't been around that long. We've got about 25 restaurants so far that have committed to doing this. And what we're asking them to do is a couple of different things, one of which is to offer straws on request only, not to make them available and not to put them into every single glass. Also, to replace the plastic straws with a paper straw, which does break down and isn't a threat to the sea life if they end up in the water. And then also replacing things, we're selling these metal straws that have their own little cleaner. It's something that can be used over and over again, can be placed into the dishwasher. So if someone that really wants, there's some people that really want them or need them, so they can use something that's used over and over again.
The billions of straws that are used every year by a lot of them coastal restaurants, which is a beautiful setting. You get your drinks, people take the straw out, put it on the table, the wind blows it off, it goes into the beach, next thing you know it's in the ocean. You know, it may not seem like much when one or two people do it, but when thousands or hundreds of thousands of people do it every day, the cumulative impact of that is significant. The standard advice that you have probably heard is still very valid for everybody, individuals, businesses, government agencies, and that's to reduce the amount of plastic we use to begin with. We just don't need to have an individual plastic bottle for every drink of water that people take during the course of the day. It's just ridiculous. We should reuse our materials as much as possible. So if you have even if you do use a plastic bottle, you can refill it several times, or better still, get a more permanent steel metal container or some other kind that you can reuse. And then recycle. If you do use plastic, when you're finished with it, manage it properly, carefully, and make sure it gets to the proper recycling system set up in your towns.
So we really think that people are not doing the wrong thing because they don't want to do the right thing, they just don't know. So, you know, I'm surprised to see the look on people's faces when they say, well, straw, what's wrong with a straw? So it's really about education.
For Cape Media News, I'm Gabrielle Rawson.
And recycling may seem easy, but there are several things to keep in mind when tossing plastics, papers, glass, and tin into the bin.
If you want to learn more, Cara Boulay of Nauset Disposal will be at Cape Space on Monday, September 17th, to talk about recycling and ways you can be greener at home and at work.
The talk runs from 5:30 to 7:30 on Monday, September 17th at Cape Space, 100 Independence Drive in Hyannis. Admission is free.
Up next, we talk with shark expert Dr. Greg Skomal as he works to track sharks off the shores of Cape Cod.
You don't have to be so strong.
Strength is not optional. This is my mother, my purpose. Real muscle is lifting her spirits between bedpans and bad news from doctors that doubt her strength. Strength is buried in bills, managing meds, and swallowing those moments of, Mom, it's me, your daughter. Remember? My strength is super, but I'm still human, right?
Find support for your strength. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community.
Shark sightings are on the rise here on Cape Cod, and scientists are hard at work trying to figure out just why they are here.
The Atlantic White Shark Conservancy has reported a large number of shark sightings this summer.
In the spring, we met up with shark expert Dr. Greg Skomal as he was rigging up some acoustic shark receivers to aid in collecting data about these mysterious creatures.
It's shark season on Cape Cod. We met with shark expert Dr. Greg Skomal in Barnstable last week to watch him rig 3 acoustic shark receivers.
Today I'm rigging up some acoustic receivers onto their buoys. And hopefully they'll be deployed in the next week or two, and we'll be able to detect whether any of our sharks that are tagged, previously tagged, with acoustic transmitters are around.
The Barnstable Harbor Master will deploy these receivers from Barnstable Harbor, and 20 more are scheduled to go out over the next several weeks off the coast of Chatham.
So what we're using is multiple technologies on these sharks, and one of those technologies is acoustic technology. And all that really means is we're putting tags on the sharks that emit a very high frequency ping. And that ping is detected by receivers that we put in the water. So we've got receivers literally all over the state of Massachusetts, from Gloucester all the way south around the Cape, and then through Nantucket Sound, Vineyard Sound, even in Buzzards Bay. So we've wired up all of Massachusetts. But by far, most of our sharks spend their time on the outer Cape. And that's driven largely by the fact that there are a lot of seals there, and that's why the sharks are here.
SCOMEL's unique tagging process includes the use of a spotter pilot to locate sharks in the water.
We go up to each individual shark that the spotter pilot sees. We then try to take videotape of that shark for a study on the population size. And once we have good video of the shark, what I'll use is a very long tagging pole, and I'll insert an intramuscular dart at the base of the dorsal fin of the shark while it's swimming along. So we don't capture the shark, we don't handle the shark, we basically just place the tag on the shark while it's swimming.
Once a shark is tagged, scientists are able to collect good local data to determine the behaviors and seasonality of the white sharks.
We're going out twice a week, starting in June and going through October. And we're identifying, cataloging, and tagging as many sharks as we possibly can. And once we finish the study in early November of this year, there's a lot of data analysis and crunching and modeling to do, and that'll be done over the course of the next winter. But we're going to start thinking about what the next steps are with this particular population. I think all the towns that we work with are interested in carrying forth on learning more and more about this species, not only because they're interested, but because, for obvious reasons, there are public safety implications.
In addition to collecting data on location, population, and behavior, SCOMEL says the sharks may be doing something else while they're here.
We also have some data, very limited, that might indicate perhaps that adult males and females may be mating. And that's one of the major aspects of our research. We're trying to figure out if indeed that's going on. Now, nobody has ever seen a white shark mate. And so the likelihood of actually seeing that is really, really, really slim. But what we're looking at is the population demographics. Do we have adult males? Do we have adult females? Yes, we do. We have scarring patterns on both sexes, which might certainly indicate that the sharks are interacting with each other at some social level. Is it actually reproductive biology going on there? Maybe, maybe not. So we're still looking into it.
Although SCOMEL has cataloged over 300 individual sharks in our area, he doesn't yet have a number on their total population size and encourages people to be mindful when out on the water.
Anytime that you've got the overlap of humans and a lot of human activity with sharks, specifically white sharks, you have the potential for interactions. That's a fact. Okay, we look anywhere in the world where we see these aggregations of white sharks overlapping with people, whether it be South Africa or Australia, California, you do get every now and then, extremely rare, an interaction where the shark will bite a person. So there is the potential for that. And we're very, very mindful of it. So we work really, really closely with all the towns to try to make sure that we're collecting the data and sharing the data with those folks about the patterns of these sharks, how they're acting, how they're behaving, and how to enhance public safety by providing that information.
You can stay up to date on shark activity in our area by downloading the app Sharktivity, which is updated regularly with data collected from SCOMEL and his team.
When we're on the water, when our plane is in the air, when we see sharks in close proximity to beaches, we notify public safety authorities at those beaches immediately. That information is put up on the Sharktivity app, and if there's any real danger to swimmers, those folks are pulled from the water. So we do that. What's important to realize, though, is that we're not out every day, okay? And when it comes to shark attacks and preventing them, there's no silver bullet. That's a fact. Places around the world have been dealing with this literally for hundreds of years, and it's not a problem that's easy to solve. Fortunately, we have not had any kind of fatal shark attack, because I believe that by working with the towns and educating the public about the presence of these animals, we can cohabitate with them. So it's a matter of us modifying our behavior to some extent so we don't expose ourselves to additional risk.
For Cape Media News, I'm Gabrielle Rawson.
Shark season extends through the fall, and Cape Media News will keep you updated on shark sightings and shark encounters.
If you'd like to learn more, you can visit AtlanticWhiteShark.org. Well, that brings this episode of Cape Media News to a close.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and keep up to date with us online at capemedia.org.